Okay, let's dive into this, because I've got to say, this number right here, it's absolutely staggering. 0.59. That is the average number of goals conceded per match since early 2025 by a specific, highly organized defensive machine. Now you might be thinking, oh, that's got to belong to a European powerhouse, right? Or maybe a South American giant. But it doesn't. No way. This incredible defensive stat belongs to a national team that has historically never won a single match at a FIFA World Cup.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolutely fascinating narrative of the Canadian men's national soccer team, affectionately known as Les Rouges. Historically, Canada has been kind of overlooked on the global football stage, totally overshadowed by hockey at home and those heavyweights abroad. But wow, the landscape has completely shifted. Coming into the 2026 World Cup, they are the fierce co-hosts, armed with world-class talent and a playbook that's literally designed to shock the world. Think of this as your ultimate pre-game playbook. We're going to run through the rise of Les Rouges, check out Jesse Marsch and his whole Maple Press system, look at the stars and setbacks, scout out the Group B battleground, and wrap up with our 2026 prediction.
All right, Section 1, the rise of Les Rouges.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because to figure out where Canada is going, we really have to look at where they came from. And their history on this stage, it's defined by pure grit. Back in 1986, their first ever appearance in Mexico, they went home with 0 wins and 0 goals scored. Then came a brutal 36-year wait. They finally made it back in Qatar 2022. They took 3 losses in a really brutal group, but hey, they did manage to secure their first ever World Cup goal. Now, entering 2026, they've got automatic entry as co-hosts, so the historical stakes here are massive. This is their absolute best shot to finally get that elusive first win. But listen, they aren't just banking on host nation luck here. This dynamic, multicultural squad completely flipped their global perception during the 2024 Copa America. Against incredible odds, they fought all the way to a 4th-place finish. I mean, it was a dream run that only stopped when they ran into Argentina in the semifinals. It's still the team's best ever result at a major tournament outside the Gold Cup. And it proved, without a doubt, they have the mental fortitude to hang with the absolute best in the world.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, Marsch and the Maple Press. You just don't get those kinds of results without a phenomenal architect, right? For Canada, that's American head coach Jesse Marsch, who was hired in May 2024. And I absolutely love this quote summarizing his philosophy: ferocious, demanding, fast, and punishing, while also remaining defensively sound. Marsch is deeply influenced by the whole Red Bull football network. Think Jurgen Klopp's pressing revolution and intense verticality. He demands excellence and this high-intensity, controlled chaos on the pitch, but brilliantly pairs it with incredible emotional intelligence and warmth behind closed doors. So he's implemented this highly specific tactical identity that we're calling the Maple Press. It's essentially that famous Red Bull press, but, with a little Canadian maple syrup mixed in. Operating mostly from a 4-4-2 shape, it's a super high-intensity pressing system. The team doesn't just press as individuals, they press as this highly coordinated, aggressive unit. They prioritize rapid attacking transitions, all while keeping their 2 defensive lines incredibly compact. Here is exactly how that plays out. Step 1, Canada loses possession. Step 2, they do not retreat. Instead, they press immediately as a unit. Step 3, they win the ball high up the pitch, totally blowing up the opponent's buildup. And Step 4, they attack with terrifying vertical speed. Honestly, it's breathtaking to watch. But it does carry a very specific risk. By playing that high defensive line, they leave themselves pretty vulnerable to long balls. If an opponent can just calmly bypass that initial press, well, there's a lot of dangerous space left right behind those Canadian defenders.
Which brings us to Section 3, stars and setbacks.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing this incredible balancing act. Tactics are nothing without the players, right? On one side, the strengths are undeniable. We're talking elite athletic speed, tailor-made for the Maple Press, an enormous psychological boost from playing at home in Toronto and Vancouver, and genuine world-class talent. But then you look at the heavy hurdles on the other side, significant injuries to key players like Moise Bombito and their captain, plus a highly concerning lack of finishing. I mean, they've only scored 2 open play goals in their last 7 matches. They're creating chances, sure, but actually putting the ball in the net has been a real struggle. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, Alphonso Davies. He's the icon, the captain, and arguably one of the finest attacking left backs on the planet playing over at Bayern Munich. When he plays, he literally transforms Canada's attack.
but he has been officially ruled out of the opening match with a grade 2 hamstring strain. This is the central dramatic tension of the group stage for Canada right now. Without his dynamic width and his emotional energy out there, the team is just fundamentally altered. Then we have the Iceman, Jonathan David, Canada's all-time top scorer with 39 goals and a highly clinical modern striker for Juventus. He is absolutely the centerpiece of Canada's attack. However, his first season in Serie A bit challenging. He scored just 8 times while dealing with reduced minutes. So for Canada to make a deep run here, Jonathan David's form isn't just some nice-to-have bonus, it's an absolute necessity. He really needs to find that ruthless finishing touch right from the jump. Supporting that attack is arguably Canada's strongest unit, their midfield engine. You've got vice-captain Steven Eustachio, who is really the intellectual heart of the team. His composure and intelligent distribution just anchor the whole squad. And right next to him is Ismail Cohn, who is an absolute dynamo. Cohn brings the explosive running, the physicality, and just this relentless box-to-box energy that makes the intense demands of the Maple Press actually work. Together, those two are the rock-solid foundation of Marsh's system. All right, Section 4, the Group B Battleground. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what Canada is up against. They'll face Switzerland, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Qatar. You can see a very clear hierarchy here looking at the rankings. Switzerland, sitting way up at 19th in the world, is the undisputed group favorite, super disciplined tactically and incredibly experienced. Then Canada sits at 30th, making them the strong contender for that second place spot. Down from there, you've got Qatar around 55th, coming off a pretty disappointing 2022 run, which makes them the weakest opponent. And then at 65th, Bosnia and Herzegovina. That match is the opening test that could literally define Canada's entire tournament. Which makes that June 12th opener at BMO Field in Toronto an absolute must-win. Even without Alphonso Davies on the pitch, Canada has superior squad depth. So winning this opener against Bosnia has immense psychological importance. If Marsh's team slips up here, the pressure heading into those Qatar and Switzerland matches is going to grow exponentially. But a victory, that relieves the pressure entirely and essentially puts them right on the doorstep of the knockout rounds. Finally, let's get into Section 5, our 2026 prediction. Now, with the newly expanded 32-team knockout format, the margin for error is actually a bit wider. Let's look at the most likely scenario based on the data. Canada is heavily favored to grab 3 points against Qatar. They've also got the edge to take 3 points against Bosnia, especially with that massive home crowd behind them. Honestly, even if they only manage a 1-point draw or even a loss against a really tough Switzerland side, just taking care of business in those first 2 games secures enough points to advance. They don't need to be perfect, they just need to execute the plan. So it all leads to the ultimate question. After reviewing those ferocious Maple Press tactics, looking at this brilliant but definitely banged up roster, and considering their highly favorable Group B draw, is Canada a true tournament contender? Are they a dangerous dark horse, or are they at risk of another heartbreaking early exit? So the crucial point is, here is the verdict. Canada is a highly probable knockout qualifier and a very dangerous dark horse. Are they going to win the entire World Cup? Probably not. The sheer depth of teams like France or Argentina is realistically still a bit too far out of reach, but they are absolutely not an early exit risk either. The massive atmospheric advantage of playing on home soil, combined with a fiercely rehearsed tactical identity under Jesse Marsh, gives this team a genuine, sharp, competitive edge. I want to leave you all with this thought. The World Cup on home soil is both a culmination of what has been built and the launching pad for what comes next. You know, this generation of players has already completely transformed the sport in their country. But with tens of thousands of fans roaring at BMO Field, will this finally be the exact moment Les Rouges secure that historic, incredibly elusive first World Cup win and launch themselves into the global elite? Well, keep your eyes locked on Group B, folks, because Canada is ready to press.